you a professional software developer looking to take your skills to the next level? Maybe new to the field and looking to get everything you need to know? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the DevCoaches podcast.
Well, welcome back to the DevCoaches podcast. We're so excited to have Christina Aldan with us today. We're recording live from the DogFoodCon conference in Columbus, Ohio, and we had the privilege of listening to Christina's keynote this morning. And it's actually interesting you were talking about the Robot Overlords, and it's actually been a recurring theme on our show.
Yeah, that's kind of why we wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So your is called "Don't Fear the Robot Overlords."
Fearing the Robot Overlords. Yeah, I feel like there's this pervading underlying conversation, and it's not just here in the Columbus tech community. It's in tech, right? It's everywhere that we fear the I mean, even in Hollywood, even in the novels, there's this storyline, and I think we could just kind of switch. We can tweak just a little bit to perceive AI as a tool, a useful tool that we can work together, complementary, not like a substitution.
So it is a really great tool, right? What if we start using it wrong?
Well, you know what? People can use a hammer wrong, and they do. And I think that there's always going to be a wide range in the spectrum. Does that mean because there are outliers far left or outliers far right that we don't necessarily support most of everybody else in the middle?
Yeah.
And what kind of advancements are we missing out if we don't do that? We cannot find the solutions if we don't explore them. And then those outliers, guess what? They're going to be still using those tools regardless.
That's true. I think I personally have a lot of anxiety about this kind of thing because I'm not so much worried about machines taking over and how that's going. I'm more worried that these are really, really incredible tools and they are going to be in the hands of humans who could make really bad decisions with them.
Yes, I agree. And that's why my talk really, really wasn't about robot overlords, right? It was really about empathy.
Yeah.
And so much of, even though I own a digital advertising agency, I used to do tech talks. I used to speak about SEO and WordPress and marketing and advertising, social media. I used to do that. But I'll tell you what, people, they're calling on, we got the Microsoft, the MVP community events. I was invited to speak at 4 of them about emotional intelligence, about communication. This is what our industry is looking for, and personally, I think that's really what our work needs to be about.
Well, and actually one of the things you said during the talk really resonated with me, and that's the fact that because people won't be doing these manual tasks anymore, it challenges them to more. And I think that's a really great point. I mean, we talk about the potential job loss as a result of AI and all this intelligence, but there is humans are resilient people, and I think there are great opportunities to be challenged more.
Well, and we've always adapted. I mean, like I said, think about it. 1,000 years ago, we were all farmers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Even 100 years ago, we had to wash our socks one by one by hand on a rock. I mean, now we just throw everything in a machine, push a button, walk away, and then go do this cool stuff. Enjoy our family. I go and throw a load in, and then go prepare a meal with my family and my kids, and we have that fellowship, and we have that connection, and it allows us when those mundane tasks, the automated tasks, those are always the first things that get automated. Right. The dangerous tasks, the dangerous work that humans can then be freed up, and we can kind of, like I said, lean into that humanity and kind of strengthen our empathy muscle and think about what's possible and think about those solutions. Obviously, government regulation on monopolies. I didn't get to cover that today because we only had like 50 minutes. But, obviously that's a very, very big key part of it. And developing the politicians who are going to make those policies is huge. That's why everywhere I go, I work in empathy, communication, emotional intelligence into everything I do.
So what kind of policies do you advocate for?
Well, policy isn't necessarily my strong point.
Okay.
I just want to see people really having an actual discussion around how is this going to affect our hearts, our spirits, our souls when we design products. And that has been missing, I think.
Yeah.
I think that, there's this huge boost, there's this huge influx of money and success in the U.S. People benefited a lot from that. People wanted more of that. We saw the housing market, and even in my industry, in marketing and advertising, we look at the natural biological fear responses of people and then capitalize on them. And so while I don't necessarily advocate for a specific policy, I advocate for just common sense, thinking about how you're going to affect another person, what kind of inner dialogue is happening with you, and how are you relating to other people. When we can just break it down to those simple, basic things, everything else flows from there. Policy, product design, how we communicate, how we raise our children, how we teach our children. If you just go and look in the mirror first, that's the first step.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So empathy, a big part of your talk.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you think it's possible that the machine learning stuff helps make more empathetic decisions in the future, like machine-based decisions? Could a machine learning algorithm mimic empathy in ways?
I think that it can mimic it, but I don't think that you can tap into a soul's desire and wants and motivations. A machine can say, all right, the most efficient way is going to be this way. A machine can say, I'm going to mimic, I'm going to repeat the behavior, but a machine can't say, I have a burning desire for this, and this is what motivates me to persevere, to make a difference, to influence someone in a positive way, to make a choice, and to quickly adapt, right? I can quickly adapt based on your body language, based on your eyes, based on even what people will sometimes say, like we have a fifth sense. We can see, the hairs on the back of our neck. There are these clues that as living organisms, as humans, that we have as these connected spirits. Some people will say we're all connected by God. Some people, whatever that is. I don't really get into all of that stuff, but as far as like certain biological responses and behaviors, I just don't think that can actually be fully replicated. It can be repeated and mimicked,
right? But
it can't be replicated.
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. You can't make another Bill Gates. You can't,
That's right.
You can't make another Martin Luther King Jr. You can't just fabricate or mimic that kind of tenacity and soul and spirit. Mm-hmm.
We've talked on the show about a lot of different new breakthroughs that they've made in the machine learning, right? Uh-huh. And some of the more recent things have been based around things like art.
Yeah.
And they've had machine learning algorithms writing books.
Yeah.
And they've had them painting pictures.
Yeah.
And they are very well received by people.
Well, I don't know. I'm skeptical.
Okay.
I'm skeptical because, again, if it's an experience, right? It's the connected experience. If I pick up a book by Maya Angelou, I go, there's my girl, right?
Yeah.
I look at the cover. I know it's going to be poetry. I know I'm going to be moved. I know if I've read it 17 times, I'm going to get something different out of it. You cannot replicate Maya Angelou. You can scan all of her documents into a scanner. You can mimic. You can find some patterns and throw them. But let's take, for example, I know a lot of artists. Mm-hmm. We have artists in our lives. Sure. How many artists do you know stick to that one same style? I mean, I have artists that have bought paintings and sculptures from the same artist that are significantly different because they've shifted, because where they're at, they've changed.
And I think I've seen implementations where they've tried to create music based on patterns. But again, the machine can only mimic the patterns that it's been fed. You talked about the Tay.
Yeah.
And all the data it was fed helped it to create patterns.
Correct.
The same with these music programs. It helps them to create patterns based on existing compositions and all that. That's not true creativity. It doesn't expand the boundaries.
We're contradictions, you know. Even Jimi Hendrix, he played with everybody, right? He would play. Think about Johnny Cash, who covered 9 Inch Nails. Would a computer ever predict that and deliver it with such soul? I mean, his version was, dare I say it, almost better than Trent Reznor's. You know?
I like it too.
I mean, it's beautiful, and I don't think a computer can mimic that, no matter how much data you feed it.
That's fair, and I understand the human element of that. But like, okay, for instance, popular music. I think it's fair to suggest that these algorithms will be able to generate songs that may not hit you like emotionally in the same way, but they'll be able to generate songs that are hits.
I would suggest that they already do.
Yeah. I mean, because to me, every radio station sounds virtually identical at this point.
Absolutely. It's not necessarily my thing. I like things that are less manufactured. I like things that are more soulful. I like things that are unpredictable and creative and come from an original place rather than a formula. Okay, look, we know that if we take a teeny bopper group of 4 boys in a band and we do their hair like this and we dress them like this and then we give them these words and we have this 4/4 beat, we're going to make $1 million when we parade them on. Okay, cool. It's not for me. And I think that as people develop tastes, as people lean into their own humanity and they think about what makes things unique, they're going to reject more of that stuff. And we're going to actually lean towards more human. Sure, there'll always be that. That's fine. It's just not for me. And I don't think that's necessarily what humanity is about. Or like you said, the creative process. Yeah.
So personally, I really like the ways that AI is going to help free up our time as people to focus on more important things, like these kind of connections, right? I mean, I think that'll be really, really good for humanity.
Yeah.
But the low-skilled jobs that this kind of thing is going to immediately replace is going to be a big problem for society.
Yeah.
Because we like our society is largely based on, like, think of our healthcare. We have to go to a job to get our healthcare.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if jobs kind of stop being a thing that a huge portion of the population can even do, like, we are going to have big problems in society.
Well, personally, I think we could even have bigger problems than that when we look at how our electoral system is and how divisive our country. I mean, it's quite possible that not just our jobs, but our entire political system, our entire banking system, our housing market went. We've had blips with our infrastructure for electricity and for our resources. I think that, we need to be having these conversations. This is why I wrote this talk. And this is why I travel the world talking about this stuff, because we need to be having these conversations. I think that too many people are listening to the teeny boppers on the radio and checking their Facebook. Face-to-face is the new Facebook, people. I know I own a digital advertising agency. I know I do the social media. But face-to-face is the new Facebook. People are looking for those meaningful connections, and I'm just out there trying to promote them and encourage them and get those conversations going, because I really think that, like you said, changes are coming, and people, they're not ready yet.
Right.
But we could be if every single person, if all 450 people left here today and went home and had a meaningful conversation with somebody, their teenager, their grandparent, about this stuff is changing, and what are you doing to lean into your empathy? What are you doing to lean into your own humanity? What do you have any innovative ideas? That's why I told everybody, you have an innovative idea. We need your solutions now more than ever.
I actually think empathy is going to have to be the solution for this too.
Yeah.
Because okay, so we eliminate the jobs
Yeah.
that the lower 20% of people can do. The other 80% of people are going to have to be amazingly empathetic to those people, because they're not going to be able to feed themselves. They're not going to be able to have jobs and support their lives.
I don't think it's quite doom and gloom as that. I think that it'll initially be tough, but we've always adapted. It's like Ford said, if they would have asked me if they asked me to build a faster vehicle, they would have asked me for a faster horse, and he built a car. I mean, I think that if the conversations are happening, and I think that if people really want to, and they walk away from all those distractions that aren't meaningful.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, okay, when I graduated from college, digital advertising wasn't a thing. If you ever told me I would be a business owner, an international speaker and trainer on digital advertising and emotional intelligence, those weren't even a thing when I graduated from college.
Right.
The unknown. I mean, it could be, who knows, it could be a collective consciousness awakening, in a perfect ideal world where everybody, this aha moment, and, maybe we don't even need to work.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just figure this out. I don't know, but there's 7.6 billion of us on this planet, and we've got to figure out a solution out there. One person, at least, if not, a million, working together collectively, they have the solution. We just can't imagine it yet with the resources we have.
And I think part of it is we have to get into the schools. We have to overhaul our education system to get these children coming up today prepared for this new society. Yeah.
Already.
And unfortunately, my wife's a teacher. Education moves slowly.
Yeah.
But I think they're moving in the right direction. I think there are initiatives, to teach logic and coding and higher level skills than they have in the past. And I think that's going to be the key.
Yeah. And, even the communications, we didn't learn that stuff in school. I run, I have the Fierce Women Project, which is essentially a mentorship platform for junior high age girls, where we bring women who have careers into school. Now, I have 5 boys and girls clubs in the Las Vegas Valley who they go through their vision book. The girls, we have a mentor who comes in and shares her story. Then they draw in their vision book what's possible for them, why, what do they need, how are they going to get there, what kind of training do you need to realize your vision of what's possible. We're in 4 different states now. I have a school that actually has added it to their curriculum. These kind of things are important because we stand in class and we go, now remember, we're leaders. When you walk in this door, we're representing our school as leaders. We actually have had mothers calling in going, hey, how do I get my daughter in this Fierce Women Project because it doesn't fit in her class schedule? Do you have after-school programs? Do you have... And I think those meaningful courses, those meaningful mentorship groups, they need to be happening instead of throwing an iPad at somebody and saying, okay, here you go, watch YouTube videos until dinner. Is your homework done? I don't know. I think having those connections, somehow fostering them, and it takes a village. It takes a village with how all of our families are these days. They're all infinite number of combinations of relationships. It takes a village, and we all need to work together. It's not your kid's a problem. It's not, her son. It's everybody. It's our children, and getting them started early on those kind of skills for learning, connection, empathy, and like you said, the higher level technical skills for computers, games. Even gaming is a really good way to start. Yeah. When we were running Girls in Tech Las Vegas, we did the first ever Girl Scout 3D printed badge, which was kind of cool. But teaching them even small HTML and CSS and little things. It's important.
Absolutely.
It's important.
I kind of think the way we educate kids may have to dramatically change as this moves forward too, because right now our educational system is sort of built around the idea of preparing people for these repetitive jobs where you do the same things over and over again. And being a person isn't even part of our education. Right. Yeah. Like you're filling out like Scantron things and trying to pass a test. Our education system right now is humans are basically going to try to trick a computer into thinking I'm smart.
Right.
And computers are going to be better at that than us.
Every time.
Every single time. So it's you're not even really going to learn the types of skills that are going to help people succeed in this new kind of world.
Right.
And we focus a lot on the tech side because that's where we live in that world.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The leadership is a key component, something that just absolutely everybody can benefit from.
Yeah, and the transition, it's not going to be perfect. It never is, right? There's always growing pains. Yeah. There's always, prohibition has shown that. The Industrial Revolution has shown so many things when there's a disruption like that. But I think that I still encourage people, even though, I go to conferences and I know that lots of people are corporate employees or they're government employees. I encourage them, you got your 9 to 5. But what's your idea? What's your side project? What's that thing you've always wanted to do? What's one thing you can volunteer your skill off to the side and really inject yourself into the community and influence or mentor a kid or just even one? It's very, very helpful, and it makes changes, and it helps with that shift. Yeah. So even though kids will go to school and they'll learn how to be a cog in the wheel, they have after-school programs, or they have Girl Scouts, or they have something where they're connecting, they're making a difference, and thinking innovatively while still being able to function in society. Obviously, you can't just go live in a cave, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Innovation tends to be pretty incremental too, right?
It does. Yeah.
Do you think the machine learning stuff could become innovative in that same way?
Well, I think the machine learning stuff already has been very incremental for a long time. I think we're getting very, very close. I mean, that's you saw the graph for all the investment money that's going into AI right now.
Yeah, it's far and away like the biggest thing right now.
Far and away the biggest thing right now. So we've got to start having these conversations. We've got to start pushing our politicians. We've got to start looking at what kind of monopolies may potentially form with all of this now, like yesterday. Yeah. And that's why every single Elon Musk interview I ever read lately is like, we need to get on this. We need to get on this. It's here.
We actually just talked about that recently. He made a statement to some governors about if we do it in a reactionary manner, it's too late.
It's too late. It is too late. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm worried as for instance, manufacturing, right, becomes more and more automated, that it's going to land in the hands of a handful of people who are going to control the production of all resources. So it's you get all the bad side of communism, but none of the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, history has shown that there are patterns that ebb and flow, right?
Yeah.
They come and they go. Yeah. There are periods of time where, depending on which society you're in or where or what time, that come and go. And unfortunately, we just don't have control over what time period we're born in, whether it's on an ebb or whether it's on a flow, whether it's on a change, but at the end of the day, the universe is always, it's just the natural law of the universe to constantly be finding balance, to be going this way or that. We can't always have this perfect utopia. There's always going to be challenges. There's going to be rebels. There's going to be the threat of the Death Star somebody's building somewhere.
Yeah.
And, as long as there's one person that has hope and keeps it moving, it's always going to flip to the other side again.
And I agree. I think there are going to be huge challenges with all of this, but at the same time, I think it is one of the most fascinating and interesting times in the history of the world to live, to see all that's going on.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we try to out-educate this curve, too.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way we're ever going to actually beat it in any way. Because if we, allow ourselves to let machines take over
Yes.
and like be lazy
Yes.
and then do
well,
nothing.
then the dolphins will rise, and it's okay. then it's time for the dolphins, Patrick. Like that's just, you cannot decide. You don't get to choose or control whether or not you were born in the time of the dolphins or in the time of the robot overlords. You know,
we have to get smarter.
The Earth is going to be fine. The Earth is going to be here for billions more years. Whether or not humanity will be here, I don't know.
Okay, this was great. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us.
Yes, and actually, for those who weren't here and missed this talk, I know I saw you're going to be doing the same talk at Code Mash in January.
Yeah, I just got accepted to Code Mash. I'm really excited. It's my second year. I usually go to CES, I'm in Vegas.
Yes.
And it's the same time this year. And of course, my Jay, he's Code Mash through and through. And I just love Code Mash. I was there last year. It was great. It was so cool. We had a blast. We're bringing our kids for Kids Mash this year.
I took my kids to Kids Mash last year. It was fun.
It's so cool.
Yes.
So I'm going to be doing that, and I'm doing a pre-compiler about unleashing your creativity, a big 8-hour, a full day. And I'm going to be doing those also in Morocco next month as well.
Excellent.
Same thing. So yeah, everybody can go to Code Mash, and I'd love to see you there.
And actually, mentioning Jay, I was in his session there last year about making donuts great again. That was a wonderful talk. So.
Oh, I know. He's my favorite speaker. Yeah, I just adore him. Yes. I'm a little biased, but you want to talk about confirmation bias.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know Sarah will be speaking there, Sarah Dukevich.
Yep.
So, and she's one of the hosts of this show. So hopefully maybe we can catch up again with you then and sit down and talk some more.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we still have society by then.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're okay till January.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Dev Coaches podcast. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit devcoaches.com and on Twitter @DevCoaches. We'll catch you next time.